But I think it teaches you how to be more like intuitive and a better listener, which ultimately, as musicians, we're listeners. We're hearing these ideas and melodies, and they're just kind of coming through us. So I think that's how that kind of links in, I think, with how it improved, at least for me, my relationship with music.
Welcome to our Power is Within podcast. I am your host, Chasmith, and my mission for this podcast is to inspire you to take your power back and to realize that you are the healer that you have been looking for all along. I believe that we are all capable of healing in mind, in body, and in soul. Today's episode is sponsored by Primal Trust Academy and Community, which was created by Dr. Kathleen King, who is a dear friend of mine. Primal Trust is a membership site that helps you to find freedom from chronic illness and trauma, and it is quickly growing into one of the largest worldwide online healing communities, and it is co-led by Dr. Kathleen King herself and other Primal Trust graduates. The membership includes access to Regulate, which is the level 1 comprehensive program to self-regulate the brain and the nervous system, focusing both on a top-down and a bottoms-up approach. It is a prerequisite to the level 2 mentorship, where we go deeper into the inner work of attachment and trauma healing. And then there is the level 3, where we focus on values-based living. P.S. There is a new simplified version of the mentorship, and there is going to be a new addition to the level 3 soon. To learn more, click the link in the show notes today and use the code OPIW to save 5%. So guess what today is? It's a very special day, in my opinion. For one, it's my podcast 3-year anniversary. Woo, woo. Guys, never did I think when I started this, when I embarked on this journey 3 years ago, did I ever think I was going to reach 3 years and 150 plus episodes. I was so not tech savvy. And honestly, these past few years, it's been a lot of trial and error, but here I am, here we are. So what makes today even more special than it being my 3-year anniversary episode is the guest. The guest today is so near and dear to my heart. His gifts in this world have made a massive impact in my life and has been an integral part of the healing journey that I've been on. I'm quite certain that many of you will actually feel the same way. He is, by far and large, my most favorite musician of all times. For me, his music is not just music, it is medicine, it is magic. And today I welcome Trevor Hall. So, how many of you can relate to what I'm saying? His music speaks to the soul. It has a way of getting into the heart of healing, and it does provide so much magic in medicine, in my opinion. This young, incredibly gifted and talented musician has overcome his own health challenges, just like us. He's gone through his own journey of healing, and he's with us today to take a deep dive into his journey and share it with us. We go into his struggles with various health conditions and how he moved through these challenges, what he learned along the way, and how his music has played a role in his own healing. If you're not already familiar with Trevor Hall, well, I strongly encourage you to go to your music app of choice and give him a listen. I have no doubts that you will not be disappointed. Quite opposite. Okay, so Trevor Hall, in addition to being a musician, he is also a husband and a father. He has his beautiful wife, Emery, who is a poet and a photographer, and he has his beautiful little boy. With all of that said, let's welcome Trevor to the show. Don't be afraid. Trevor, welcome.
How you
Welcome.
doing?
Good. Welcome to the show. It's such an honor to have you here with me right now.
Thanks for having me. What a privilege.
Yeah, that's how I feel. I'm really thrilled to get to share this special episode with my listeners. Just as a fun fact, your episode will actually be my gift to my listeners as my 3-year anniversary episode.
Oh my God, I love that.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course. Thank you. So as we were kind of just talking about offline before we started recording, my podcast is really about helping people to be inspired that healing is possible in all capacities, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And I've talked to so many people and witnessed how easy it is for us to put certain people on pedestals, and we separate ourselves from them and think that their situation is different because we can only see through one lens. And we don't see that they could also go through the same things as us, even if it doesn't look that way on the surface. And I know for you, through doing some research, that you've had your own health challenges along the way on this journey in your musical career. And so I feel like it would be such a great topic for us to just dive into that. And I have lots of great questions to just kind of pick your brain and see what this experience has been like for you, what you've learned along the way, the lessons.
Wonderful.
Good.
Of course, yeah. It's a long journey.
It is. And it is for so many people in the chronic health and illness community.
Yeah.
But I stand firm in my belief that there's always light and that there's always a way out and there's always healing accessible to all of us.
Of course.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. So I think, just kind of for a little rundown for people who are listening, I know that you've gone through several different health challenges at different periods of your life, going from severe stomach illness. You've done a lot of extended travel to India. I'm not sure if it came from there or what was the result of it. You've been tested for Lyme. You've had severe staph infections where you've had to strip away some of your identity in the form of your dreads.
Now that you're laying it all out, I'm like, oh God, what have I been through?
Right. It's like a medical questionnaire. Sometimes I think, man, I'm feeling really good. And then I fill out like a medical form and it asks you all these really detailed questions and you look at it and you're like, oh shit. I got all that going on.
Exactly.
But here you are and you've made it through and you are a beautiful, gifted, talented musician. You still show up for tours. You still show up for your people, the listeners, the fans, and you still have this beautiful, strong presence on stage. And I can't imagine how exhausting that is in and of itself and can take a toll on the body. And from personal experience, I know that when you've gone through healing a lot of stuff, it's so important to really stay regulated in the nervous system and have your center and take good care of yourself. So maybe we could just start out with talking about some of these health challenges that you've been through and what some of the struggles were. We're going to start there and build our way up.
Of course, yeah. I think the first kind of big journey was definitely my tummy, but it didn't so much happen before India. I always kind of had a sensitive stomach growing up and grew up in a very small town in South Carolina, and nobody could really kind of tell me why my tummy was bad, and meet all these doctors, my mom and stuff. And then finally one day my mom took me to some gastro guy, and he said, do you think that I think your son may benefit from an antidepressant? I think that his tummy is reflective of his emotions and what he's feeling and stuff. And we've kind of seen improvement, with people's tummies with, taking an antidepressant like this. And we had kind of tried everything, known to us, known to my mom in South Carolina, in the early 90s. And I started to take an antidepressant and my tummy got better. And it was kind of interesting for me because it was something wrong with my brain, that I have to take this thing to have a healthy stomach. So that was kind of interesting to me. And about, a few years down the line, I started around my freshman year of high school or so, I started to go visit this yoga studio in my town. And the yoga teacher's husband was this very just amazing chiropractor, but in a very intuitive way. This was presenting this kind of like alternative medicine, like the first time that like we had ever seen anything like that, where he'd like muscle test and just a whole different understanding of health. And he got me off of that antidepressant and kind of, helped me understand my body in like a more natural way. And it was interesting to kind of have those kind of two polarities at such a young spot of understanding of health, I guess. And so anyway, that kind of went on, but it's knowing that my tummy was sensitive and this and that, like when I did go to India, when I started going to India, my overall health did take a little bit of a dramatic turn because I was getting so many different types of parasites and amoebas and, was coming back and, knocking those out with antibiotics and then touring like crazy, which is, exhausting and very damaging just to your overall like immune system. So my overall health took a really, really kind of downward turn. And I continued going back to India because I just, I loved it so much. And I felt like I needed to go every year, which I was doing despite being so ill, And then it was around the time I met my wife that I kind of had reached kind of my limit, as far as my health at that point, and kind of stopped touring for like a year and really kind of focused on bringing my gut, back to a good place, and worked with all different types of people, from acupuncturists to chiropractors to Western medicine to, nutritionists to Ayurvedic, treatments, at that point, you're just so desperate to try feel better. It consumes your whole world. It's like, I can't keep living like this. I'm going to have to sacrifice some things and pause and get back on track, and that can be like really scary and really a ticklish time, because everything just seems like so unstable. And I think one of the things that was like super frustrating was nobody could really tell you why you were feeling that way, and all you wanted was an answer. It was like you would get these blood tests and they're like, everything looks okay. And you're like, yeah, but I am not well, or you do like a poop test, and they're like, yeah, it's negative. And you're like, it's not negative. It cannot be, and you almost become desperate for somebody to give you a diagnosis, so you can start a treatment. It's a really kind of like lonely point of sickness, I feel like, where every day you're just trying to just make it through the day. So yeah, that was kind of, I guess, the big first chapter, I guess, of my like health journey. It was definitely how my digestive system just kind of broke down and ultimately affected my emotional health, my physical health, and everything, So yeah.
Yeah, it's such a common story, and it's something that I'm sure so many people who are going to be tuned into this can relate to. It can be a really lonely journey. And like you said, it starts as maybe a physical symptom, but it becomes so all encompassing that it can really eat away at your emotional like well-being and everything. So,
Yeah.
well, I'm glad you had your wife through that time.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you had already, I know she wasn't your wife yet, but I'm glad you had Emery at that time.
Yeah. It's kind of cool that I feel like, kind of right when she like entered my story, is when I learned how to kind of take a breath and learn about my body and get back to a good way and have a support system, have somebody to just talk things out with. That's what started, kind of the healing journey.
Yeah. So you got your gut back in check, and then you kind of you go on with life. Where then in this timeline did you end up with the Lyme diagnosis and the staph?
I can't remember, but I was just kind of I was really suffering from, at that point, I don't know which one was first, but I think it was the staph actually. I think the staph was first. So after kind of healing my gut, or to the best that I could have, it's like a daily thing, daily journey. We were living on Hawaii, and that winter I got a really serious staph infection that just completely brought me to my knees. I had this little, just like looked like a pimple just on my thigh, and in 24 hours it just went crazy. I mean, it just blew up on my whole leg. I had an incredible fever, couldn't just function properly. It was just like delirious. Went to the hospital in Hawaii where we were and got treated, but then was trying to get back to the mainland. Long story, but we ended up in Honolulu on Oahu and had to be readmitted there because the antibiotics like really weren't working, and the staph on my leg was still growing, and it was just like I still had a fever and the whole thing. And I was able to get back to the mainland, and I got admitted in LA to the hospital, Cedars-Sinai, for like 7 or 8 days, and was on like a drip of the heaviest like antibiotic or whatever for like that time. And that was the only thing that could get my leg down. And yeah, it was a really tough time. Really, really tough time. That health was, it was different than my stomach. It was like this thing that just like really brought me to my knees, and had to cut my locks because the staph was kind of potentially like spreading to the back of my head, and they couldn't get to it, with this big head of natty locks. So I had to cut my hair. So it was just like a really just kind of intense time. Yeah. But a time when we really had to try and stop. And yeah, it was a very turbulent time, but I'm glad I made it through. And it wasn't, and then it wasn't after that until the Lyme's I was just, the chronic fatigue became super just too much. And I ended up seeing this doctor in LA that helped me treat the Lyme's. So yeah.
Wow. Yeah, absolutely. So it's interesting because I have a belief around symptoms, a couple beliefs. One belief is that all sensations and symptoms in our body are messengers. I really believe that every time that I'm in some way out of balance, like my body doesn't have the verbal language, right? That language that we're having with each other right now comes from mind, but the body has only one language, it's sensation. And so I think for me, I believe that the body always wants to be well, wants to be in balance. And when something's out of alignment, this is how it communicates. Something happens. There's chemistry and physiology that changes and shifts, and it presents in symptoms and diagnoses, disease. And so that's like one of my beliefs. And the other thing I really believe is that there's always a bigger component than just purely physical. It's really easy to say, oh, I got Lyme disease just because I got bit by a tick, or, oh, I got this infection from this specific thing, but I guess I always think there's probably something bigger, beneath it all. And there's this element of, yes, medicine and all these Western and Eastern traditional medicines to help us. And there's also an element of healing through our beliefs, through our mind, through our emotion, through our spirit. As you navigated that journey and coming out the other side and reflecting back, do you see any bigger connection to what you went through?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I feel that those worlds so intertwined, our internal reality colors our external reality, they're so linked with I feel like how one views things. If one has a healthy mindset, every, environment is healthy. So yeah, they were totally linked. And I did notice, how to say, I guess on my road to healing and what I've had to do, it's just really kind of like humbled me how I like view things, and humbled my relationship to myself, and taught me how to listen properly, or listen, more deeply. And that's continuing every day, So I do relate to that these things are messengers, and these things, come into our lives sometimes to perhaps, tell us to slow down or tell us to stop or to destroy something. And, you have to, or at least you don't have to, but I try to look at every kind of setback or whatever as also the divine hand, and it's just something that you work at.
Yeah. It's funny because in the moment, in a hard moment, in something that we're in a little resistance to, something that's challenging, whether it's physical, emotional, mental, like spiritual, whatever it is, it's so easy in the moment to not be able to make sense of it sometimes, right? Like, oh, this doesn't make sense. And if you're the kind of person who's of the belief that everything is divine, that everything happens for a reason, and that there's this bigger plan, this bigger picture that we don't have control of, then sometimes we only have this limited scope. So we can't see that. But hindsight 2020 always helps, right? And there's often times that we go through what we call a hardship, and then we get past it, and years down the road, or even whatever amount of time, we're looking back and we're like, oh my God, that might have been suffering. That might have been hard, but it did this. It helped me in this way.
Yeah.
Like, one example that you encountered with this was at one point when you were in the hospital in LA, I had read that Emery actually missed a trip she was supposed to go on. And then that trip was in a country where there was actually a big natural disaster that she could have potentially been in, but instead she was with you.
Right.
So it's like you might have had to go through this suffering, physical suffering, but in the end, you can't. It's like, well, if this didn't happen and she was there, what could have happened?
Yeah, I think there's just those things those experiences or events that happen that kind of just, I don't know, make you look at things differently, and you kind of see maybe some type of thread, or some type of connection, and it shows the interconnectedness, kind of all things, and when you feel that, like when you get that feeling, or when we like realize that, or like whatever, that feeling is so kind of surreal or something. It's like, or I don't know, it's hard to describe, you feel this kind of connection with something greater than yourself or something. So yeah, I like to think, everything happens for a reason, and you just have to learn what you can, and be kind to yourself, and forbear.
What are some of the biggest lessons that you've learned through these physical challenges that you've endured?
I think it's just like giving me power of perspective, I guess. Like, I think it's allowed for me to like view things differently. And in that viewing, like, has taught me so much about like myself and what's good for me. And it's helped me like grow into myself, more in a way. And it's sometimes we do that through a little bit of suffering, and sometimes we do that through joyful experience, it's both, but I think ultimately, like, all the just the struggles and the dark days and lonely feelings, of being on that health journey, like, or just being on the journey, it just teaches you so much about yourself that I don't think I would have learned if I, didn't have the experience. So kind of creates this sense of like weird gratitude. Like, thank you. I don't want you to come back, but thank you. But like, just stay over there.
Yeah. Like, I learned what I needed to learn. Thank you. Now, bye-bye.
Like, it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's what's coming to mind. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. So your music, for many people, your music is medicine. For many people, your music really does support them on their healing journeys. I mean, your music is wildly popular in the chronic healing community, a very popular music because there's a vibration, there's a resonance for people, the lyrics, like, that people can, they feel connected. They don't feel so alone. Has there ever been any ways that your music really supported you through these times, through these challenges?
Oh yeah. I mean, the music is the ultimate, the ultimate healer, it's the thing that brings me into, the observer, the witness, the vessel, brings you out of your mind, and that's, yeah, it's a shelter, it's a haven, it's a friend, and to have that, during that time was amazing. And it produced so many, so many songs that have, I think, helped others, and in turn helped me, because the more we share our experiences and relate about different things, on different subjects, the more I see the interconnectedness of all of us. It's like, you can't rush your healing, that song, it's the amount of stories that people have come up and told me, about their relationship with that song has in turn enriched my own relationship with that experience. And I didn't really know that was going to happen. It's been really like amazing. You see, the music is what kind of brought it all together for me, and brings it all together for me, So yeah, it was a potent time for, all things musical. Yeah.
Yeah, and that specific song did come through that journey you went on.
That journey of the
Yeah.
staff,
Yeah.
And when Emery was going to be in Nepal, and it was that was that whole journey. So yeah, you see how it kind of, comes around. But like I said, it's like, I get it, just stay over there.
Well, I think that's the goal. As long as you get it and you learn what it's there to teach you, then it can stay over there. But life keeps showing up until we actually get it. Because sometimes, like, some of us just don't get it. We don't learn the first time around,
Yeah.
Sadly.
Yeah.
Sometimes we got to learn the hard way.
Yeah.
And it's funny because, that song it's such a powerful reminder because, like you said, when you had your stomach, you just felt like it was all encompassing and you just wanted to go away. And so many people who are out there suffering, we want it to go away. We do, but we want it to go away in our time. And it is something that I feel like through my own experience, I've learned that I can't rush it. I can't say, oh, this person healed in 8 months. Why can't I? Like, it's because we're all on our own journey, and to not put that pressure on ourselves to have to rush it is so valuable.
It is. And it's, one of the things that just annoyed me so much, like when I was like in those spaces, like people that were like, there's a lesson in it,
Yeah.
And it's like, I've learned, what am I supposed to be learning here? But now I feel like I'm one of those people that, like, don't worry, you're going to realize something, it does teach you something, but it's like, man, when you're in it, it just, if at least for me, I couldn't compartmentalize it. It takes up your whole reality. It's like a pair of sunglasses, that you put over your eyes, and you see everything in this tint of your suffering, and you don't know that you're wearing the sunglasses, but one day you kind of realize it, and like, then you put on another set of sunglasses, but it just, I guess in that way, it kind of points to like an eternal vision, that is there, and it helps us realize that we're wearing sunglasses, in a way. And, at least for me and with my art and stuff, I work at like trying to take them off, and like in different ways, like take off my, like the way I think about things, and get into another space, and so that sickness, those struggles, they kind of do that, they kind of like do that in a very sick, twisted way.
I know, it's true. And I totally relate. And I know so many people are probably laughing as they hear you say this at maybe themselves in their own experience. Because I have a lot of people come on here and share like their healing stories and their testimonial stories. And so many people are at that place where they're like, they can see the gifts, they can see the magic looking back, they can see how it was for them, not against them. But we talk all the time about how, don't worry if you're not there right now. Because if you're just in it, like it's okay if you can't see a gift yet. It's okay. You're in it, and that's okay.
Yeah. And you just, it'll all unfold naturally. Yeah. You just, sometimes when I was like in that space, I put so much pressure on getting better, getting into like that space to learn the lesson or whatever, that it just made everything so much worse. And it kind of like brings you into the present moment in a way, or keep, it's like, I can't take all these thoughts on. I have to cut these out and be here now, in this moment, because that's all I have energy for. It's all I have strength for, I can't put this pressure on myself or take these opinions on, or, you know, at some points, I can't even listen to this self-negative talk anymore. I can't. I have to cut it out and just be here in this moment. And I think that's how, in some ways, it can bring you to your knees. It just strips you. It strips you sometimes of everything,
Right.
only to, bring new life, I feel like.
Yeah. Do you feel like, I feel like you were already an amazing musician. I bet you were probably just born an amazing musician, but do you feel like it did help you as a musician?
Yeah, I think because, you have to move into like really, I think, a sense of feeling, you know, and you really have to you learn to just feel your body and feel your sensations and how different emotions make you feel in your body. It's like one thing to feel sad, but it's like, where do I feel sad? Like in my body. Those are two different things, I think. So I think it teaches you how to be more like intuitive and a better listener, which ultimately, as musicians, we're listeners. We're hearing these ideas and melodies, and they're just kind of coming through us. So I think that's how that kind of links in, I think, with how it improved, at least for me, my relationship with music. Yeah.
So, okay. So we know that we kind of already very briefed on this. Like touring is hard. Touring is exhausting. It's physical, mental, emotional, like the whole caboodle.
Yeah.
And yet you have gone through a lot physically. You've said, I've had to learn what is right for me and what is good for me. And so my guess is you really have to honor your boundaries and have a dedication to certain rituals or self-care routines. And I imagine it's tenfold when you live this lifestyle you live that does put a lot of pressure on you that is not necessary. It's unique. It's different, like where somebody like myself, I can heal and I can kind of create this like scheduled life that isn't like as chaotic or up and down and as demanding in all those capacities. But for you, it's a little different. So how do you really honor that truth for yourself, and how do you maintain your level of health these days, not only at home, but especially on the road?
That's a deep question. I mean, along with touring is amazing and gorgeous and beautiful and enlightening and exciting. And all those things kind of keep you going, despite the exhaustion and the perhaps the uncomfortableness or whatever, all the things that cut the draining of the effect of traveling all the time, all these things. So it's something that, we just talked about this other day. It's just, we take it moment by moment. And it's one of the hardest aspects, I feel like, of our job, because you have to book so far in advance, and you don't know how you're going to feel, in 6 to 8 months or 8 to 12 months. It's like now, yeah, I'd love to do that tour, but when it comes upon me a year from now, I don't know if I'm going to want to do that. So it's kind of this, you have to take it as it comes. And, having a family now is really like different as well. And we're still learning. We're constantly learning how much is too much and how much is necessary. And I just feel like I'm blessed to be in a position where I can kind of have the option to make it my own now, and do what I want to do, and like do, the things I want to do, on the road, do as much as I can or as little as I can, so it's just like, it's hard to say. It's something that, even after all these years, I'm still taking it tour by tour and moment by moment. And you kind of have to, because on tour, everything is just always changing. You're never in the same place at this, more than 24 hours. You know, you're never eating the same thing pretty much, or, you have to find different food all the time and this and that. And, everything's just changing. So you have to be kind of in the moment. And that's what's so beautiful about it. It does teach you to kind of learn to be in the moment. Because if you do fight all those things and everything's always changing, this and that, and blah blah blah, I wish that's what exhausts you. That's what brings you down. But if you're able to stay in the moment and enjoy and appreciate, every experience and not be attached to any experience, that's when I think I can maintain my energy better. So it's more a state of mind than anything,
Yeah, it's just staying present.
I don't know if that fully answers the question, but staying present has definitely been like one of the greatest players in my healing journey.
Yeah. Do you have any kind of just daily rituals that you engage in on a regular basis, like any kind of meditation practice, or if you do yoga regularly, or, any kind of just awareness where you're focused on like the emotion and where it feels in your body, anything like that?
On my good days, but now that we're parents and like our lives have changed like so much, our daily schedule and our availability and time to do things. But it's really actually, kind of made each moment a practice, each moment sacred by being aware of it and being present to it. That way I don't have to do any type of formal ritual. It's like if I do yoga on a day, that's great. If I didn't do it, that's okay, because I'm trying to bring my attention back to this moment and every moment all the time. So that's kind of been really beautiful. Sometimes I wish I had more of the formal, kind of practice of getting up early every morning and, meditating for an hour or doing yoga. It's not how it is right now, and that will probably change. But one of the things that helps me, just kind of bring it is I do a lot of like mantra repetition, to kind of bring me back into the present moment or my heart space. Or just trying to watch my breath in each and every action, and just kind of bring my attention. That helps me really kind of, just get in the present. And those two things are kind of my main things that I can do anywhere at any time. That's what's so beautiful about it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it sounds like the idea behind yoga is to develop a practice, right, of presence,
right,
and awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And the goal, I think, in the long run is to not necessarily need to do the tools every day to bring yourself there, but to literally bring the essence into your daily living, into your life, and
of
like
course.
You said, into the moments. And the more that we can do that, the less we need this dedicated time set aside to the practice, because we're living the practice.
Of course. Yeah. I do believe that regular practice is extremely important, if one can maintain it, so it's not that I actually aspire to, kind of getting back to that point, but I'm also accepting that, my practice is now to, be a father and be present in that capacity and that role. That's my practice, So,
yeah. I bet you being a father and just being present with your boy, though, I mean, I've heard so often how much kids can, when you're engaged, when you're with them, when you're playing with them, you are nothing but present with them. You're nothing but in that moment, and then kids are so great because they get you down on your knees playing again, and playing is so powerful.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely a big little kid.
Yeah.
So it's been pretty beautiful in that sense. But yeah, that, one of the greatest things I think, kind of, again, being a parent, is how a child brings you into the present moment, and you can either fight it, and be like, God, I wish I could be laying down right now, or I wish I could be, numbing out and watching a show, or, having some alone time or whatever, or which I get all those thoughts, I'm not like some type of, I don't know, crazy perfect person, but it's like, it's when I'm in that moment, when I'm surrendered into the moment, um, that I feel like a fluid energy. The energy is fluid and not blocked, and I'm not stressed, and in order to do that, I have to cut a lot of things out of my mind. I have to leave them out. I have to leave them out. I don't have time for it, and that's been one of the beautiful things I think about becoming a parent, because I feel I'm a very like empathetic person, where I like can just, like, I take on emotions or like feelings and environments, and like, it's tough, and a lot of that relates to my physical well-being and health, and kind of becoming a papa has helped me kind of draw the line a little more, with things that are to my own fault, that I like spin out about or stress out about. I have to just try to be present. I don't have time for it.
Yeah.
So that's related, all that's linked there.
Yeah. That little guy's going to be a big teacher for you, huh?
Yeah, he is a big teacher already.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's a wild man.
Is he?
Right now? He's a wild man.
How old is he right now?
He's the tyrant of the house. He's like 2.5, I think.
Okay,
Gosh.
the twos.
Yeah. He's amazing.
Keep you on your toes.
Pretty amazing. Yeah,
you're like,
sure.
I thought touring was exhausting now.
Oh yeah. Oh my God.
Oh, that's so fun.
It's true. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. It was a really cute video when you came home from your last tour, like, and he saw you. That was really cute.
Oh yeah. And they surprised me in the airport.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I just that moment, you as soon as I think any parent knows, as soon as you feel them on you, skin to skin, it's just like your whole nervous system just, And I think being in such a heightened, environment, like touring for that long, to come back to that, it's like, my whole being was like, I forgot about
you melted.
This feeling.
Yeah.
So,
that's
that was
awesome.
really sweet.
How long was it before you had seen him?
It wasn't, that long. We were able to, on this tour, even though it was like over a month long, which is like a really long tour for us, there were different points on the tour where we were able to see each other, for a day or two. So it was, but it was not like, I could just relax and be there and know that I'm gonna, it's like you're always thinking, oh, I gotta leave tonight, or it's tough,
Yeah, I get it. And I bet, I bet if you don't see him for a day, I have plenty of friends with kids, and they miss him after the day, like a day, I have a dog, and I miss my dog if I go to work for 8 hours.
Oh yeah.
So.
I know. We have a pup too, and luckily he comes with me on tour, or else I'd be like a mess, I think.
Yeah, that's good, because dogs are really regulating and soothing to the nervous systems too.
Yeah.
They say if you're like dysregulated, just pet an animal.
Oh yeah.
So what advice or just insights would you give to anybody out there who maybe they're in the thick of it right now, and they're going through their health challenges, and they do feel alone, and they're just kind of feeling a little like hopeless?
I would just say, like, I see you. Like, I believe it or not, like, I feel you. I know where you are. And it's not something that you're experiencing, by yourself. I think that's like the first thing, because it can be really isolating and feel so isolating when you're in that space. But that, yeah, you're not alone in that. There are people who understand where you are, and just knowing that is really comforting. But I think one of the things I would really urge people, and I wish I did more of when I was in that way, is to really listen to your own intuition. You are your own healer. You can go to so many different types of doctors and this or feel lost and you know get so many opinions, and sometimes that can make you sick, from taking on all these things. But just, go be easy on yourself and try to listen to your own intuition. And if you're feeling something, you know, um, that you think is right for you in order to heal, then you should follow that. You can disagree with people. You can, even doctors, you can. So I would just probably just know you're not alone, and know that you are powerful enough to, listen to your body and,
Yes.
and make your own choices.
Yes.
Yeah.
Advocate for yourself. Take your power back.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I would say that's pretty important.
Yeah. Yeah. I really agree. My mission statement is literally that. The podcast mission statement is that I'm here to inspire people to realize that they are the healer that they've been looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It is within us.
It is within us, and it's always being revealed, even when you think it's not, so you have to sometimes you have to fake it till you make it, sometimes you have to just keep on keeping on, and wait and just wait for it to unravel. But, it will. And just listen to yourself, listen to your heart. That's probably, yeah, the advice I'd give. Yeah.
Yeah. And if
sure.
you have a hard time listening to yourself and listening to your heart, and you already have it tuned into Trevor's music, start there, because it'll usually help you get into your heart.
Well, I appreciate that.
I ask everybody my final question, and this does not necessarily have to pertain at all in any capacity to physical health or healing. It can be whatever you want. You, through your music, you share a lot of messages, a lot of stories, a lot of poetry. But if you were told from today forward that you could actually only share one overall arching message for the rest of your life, what would you spend your life sharing? And I will say, I always preface this for people with kids. I love to see what would they teach and share with their child if it was just one parting message.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, God. I would say, it's kind of a combination of, love yourself and, find out who you are, in your deepest essence, and that goes with loving yourself, and when I say yourself, I mean your innermost self, I think that's something that, love is just the greatest medicine. And, I think that, it should be sought and worked at, developed in one's heart, more important than mathematics or science or, taxes or learning how to, do anything, So I think it's the essence of all things. So, yeah, just don't be too hard on yourself.
Yeah. Which is part of loving yourself, right? Like,
which is part of loving yourself.
It's all part of loving yourself. Love yourself enough to know yourself. Love yourself enough to not be too hard on yourself. Like forgiveness, grace,
I know,
patience.
It's a constant, it's a daily job.
Yeah. Yes, this is true. Very beautiful. Thank you so much. I just want to take a moment to really honestly say thank you again for not only being here with me and engaging in this conversation, which I know for some people, maybe not for you, but for some people, it's a lot of vulnerability to like talk about these kinds of, challenges and open up about them. And not only thank you for just being here today, but thank you for being who you are. Thank you for being on this journey, for discovering and staying true to yourself. And not only that, but doing what you do. You were given this gift. And I think there's a lot of people who are given a gift and they don't necessarily leverage it. They don't use it. They don't share it. And you stood up and you took on this role of sharing your gift with the world and being vulnerable and sharing the lessons, the stories that you've learned along the way. And I think in doing that, you've really contributed to a massive shift in consciousness and healing. I think you've really opened the door for more healing to happen across the globe. And I appreciate you.
Oh my God. Well, thank you so much. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a good day.
Yeah. Well, the more of us that can stand in our truth and that can share our gifts and that can make this contribution, the more beautiful the world is. And I know that you said this once. I watched you in an interview and you said that you didn't care if somebody was like, if they wanted to be a beach bum and just live on the beach and they were happy that was enough because their happiness contributed to your happiness and your happiness contributes to our happiness and all of our individual self-love and healing contributes to the collective.
Mm-hmm.
So we need more people to stand up.
It's that it is, you can feel when, some of the people that I've just been most inspired by, have, being around them, you just know that they're like 100% themselves. They're honest in every aspect of themselves. It's so refreshing. It's so human and divine all at the same time, and you feel that feeling and you're like, hey, I want that. I want to feel that within my own self, and so it rubs off, so it's like, that's what we're working for, and doing things like this and talking about, suffering, physical, emotional, these things, that it helps us. It helps us, be honest about everything and learn from each other. So, it's good work. It's good work.
I learned a long time ago that when you could be yourself, that the greatest, that like they said, one of the greatest gifts you could give the world is just being you, because when you do that, you give other people permission to also just be them.
Yeah. And you feel that, you feel that when you're around somebody like that. You feel safe, you feel open, you feel expansive, you feel comfortable.
Yeah. And I think that's
peaceful.
What your music does. I feel that at every one of your concerts, at every one of your shows. But I don't feel it internally, just myself. I feel it all around me. I feel like that's what your music does for people, is it gives them permission.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
To be real.
I hope it continues to do that.
I have no doubts. I have absolutely no doubts. Thank you so much, Trevor.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So, friends, what are you thinking right now? How are you feeling? How impactful was this episode for you? The most beautiful part of my 6-month solo backpacking journey, I thought it was going to be the mountains, and the waterfalls and all the Instagram worthy photos that you see, people take and you think, oh, I've got to see that place. I've got to go there. I've got to have that experience. And it all was great. All of it, the whole package. But the most beautiful part of my entire 6-month journey was at a deep level, discovering how incredibly connected we all are. to be able to sit in a room with people who live in a completely different country with completely different cultures and who speak a completely different language than I spoke. And yet there was this common thread, this connection, this ability for us to relate, to understand each other without words because we didn't know each other's language, but yet there's a universal language and we understood it. We could empathize and have compassion for each other. And in that experience, I just really learned how incredibly connected we really all are. We have a common ground. So for whatever reason, we chose to be here in this era, in these bodies, living these experiences, celebrating the beauty of it, struggling through the challenges, but we're ultimately together, even when it doesn't feel that way. The journey can sometimes feel so alone, so isolating. But my hope is that today's episode with Trevor was a reminder to each and every one of you that we are not alone. We are never alone. And I just want to say, in honor of my dreams, I love you. I love you all, each and every one of you. If you're a new listener to this show, welcome. And if you've been following along for a while, thank you for being on this journey with me. For wherever you're at in your journey, please just remember that we are all capable of healing. It is for all of us, every single one of us. Now, go listen to some Trevor Hall, sit back, relax, take it in, and until next time, make this week so great.
All